right, man. So it looks like we got some huge news here coming from black voters. So a lot of people are actually sort of drawing connections between Kamala Harris's 2024 run to like 2008 Obama and these kinds of runs and the enthusiasm to vote has absolutely skyrocketed. I think it's more so probably a combination of it being not Trump and not Biden together, and there's some kind of like statistical interaction effect happening there, because I don't think Kamala Harris is really a politician that people would specifically be like excited for. But we do actually have some measures directly comparing the numbers to 2008. Now, what we know is back in 2016 and in 2020, we have had two situations of both lesser of two evils candidates. So we actually have not really seen a candidate who people actually are excited to vote for against Donald Trump yet. It actually hasn't occurred. So if the enthusiasm is really high for Kamala Harris, this will be a first where Donald Trump has to actually go up against somebody that people actually want to vote for. Again, I'm not sure why people want to vote for Kamala Harris in that way other than voting against Trump. But nonetheless, that is the reality. So Trump typically overperforms the numbers, but having somebody like that present can either have two things happen. Either one, you can overperform as well, a la Biden in Georgia and Arizona, where he overperformed by 0.9 and 0.7 respectively, which won him the elections. Or maybe you're able to sort of beat him off and end up making it so he doesn't actually end up overperforming as much either. Because he overperformed by an insane amount even in those states. But because Biden was able to, he was able to also overperform, he kind of beat him off in that way, right? So what we have here is we have a new poll. So it says black voters buoyed by Harris more excited to vote in 2024 than 2008 poll. A majority of black voters are just as excited or more this year as in 2008 when then Senator Barack Obama became the first black president, according to new polling. A survey from the NAACP in partnership with HIT Strategies and Hart Research found that 78% of black voters feel the same sense of excitement as when Obama first ran, with 56% being more excited now than in 2008. So this is absolutely huge. A lot of the 2008 energy obviously was because of Obama, but a lot of it also was just because everything was crashing around them. And so at that point, people are going to not vote for the Republican. They'll vote for anybody else, whoever the opposite person is. So there's actually a saying out there that's like, oh, we wasted Obama in 2008. That's a funny one. But if these enthusiasm numbers are out there still, this can really indicate that a lot of the polls are going to end up missing a lot of voters, because a lot of these voters are going to be young black women, etc. They're going to be first-time registrants, and so they end up getting missed in the polls, especially in a state like Georgia, where 33 or something percent of that population, almost like a third of the population, is actually black. In a state like that, it's going to have a massive impact. So what's going to end up happening is sort of a potential overperformance. So we'll look at a previous election that we may be in tune with. So this election season, we've witnessed a surge of enthusiasm among black voters that hasn't been seen in some time, but we cannot be distracted. There are still voters to be reached, said Derrick Johnson, president and CEO of NAACP. Make no mistake, our lives depend on our votes, Johnson added. This November, casting our ballots will be more than just us exercising our right to vote. It is the key to the future of our culture and our community. Part of the excitement comes from Vice President's historic nomination. So these are actually some bad numbers in terms of who's saying they're going to support her, but it looks like the enthusiasm numbers are the ones that are actually really good here. But we obviously see what's going on with the Haitian population now. They're like having to, shut down schools and hospitals for the, bomb threats and stuff like that. It's just basically pure out terrorism, pretty much. So it's pretty insane what's going on, and so the lives are in danger. So because of this enthusiasm and the way that the polls are looking really tight right now, is there a recent election that might actually be able to come into play? And the answer is potentially yes. So what we're able to do here actually is back in 2012, we can check and see what the Romney versus Obama numbers were. Now, on Real Clear Politics, you can see that the average polling nationally on election day, or in this aggregate here, was actually Obama plus 0.7. So he was up less than 1 point. So it's Obama 48.8 to Romney's 48.1. But what you can see is Obama severely overperforms the numbers, going up by about 2.4 points, going all the way up to 51.1. And Romney actually underperforms, so going from 48.1 to 47.2. So almost a full point of underperformance. Now, what we know is in the polling aggregate right now, there actually is a situation where a lot of the polls that are being inserted are from the horrible pollsters from 2020. So, for example, they're actually flooding specific markets too. They're targeting them. So, for example, Insider Advantage is one of them, right? This has Trump +1. This is an aggregate list here you can see from 538. It says the most and least accurate pollsters of 2021, 2022. Average error, share of elections called correctly, blah, blah, blah. And it gives us the pollsters, and we go all the way down here. Let's see where insider advantage is. Maybe it's about halfway through. No. Rasmussen, surely it's got to be better than Rasmussen. No. Is it near it? Not even. So we go all the way down, and we finally find insider advantage. It appears to be 8th from the bottom. So insider advantage here is this poll. Mitchell Research is actually another poll. You can look at the Whitmer poll. They had her tied. Actually, I'll just pull it up for you. If we take a look at the gubernatorial poll with Whitmer, you can see there was this convergence towards about 5 points. She wins by 10. The polls were actually correct, but then the polls got flooded by the garbage pollsters, and that's why it ended up being as large overperformance. So you can see a lot of these same polls. Trafalgar, Mitchell Research and Communications had Whitmer up 2. She ends up winning by 10. It's an 8-point overperformance, and so we can see them here. But you can even see insider advantage here. John Wick is here. Trafalgar Group. Mitchell Research again, right? Wick, insider advantage. These are the same exact trash tier pollsters that were mucking up the numbers last time back again. And then you see coefficient, right? Coefficient is actually the lowest on this list. You can see it's 4th from the bottom. 5.9 average error, R plus 5.8 is the partisan bias. And then if we click more, we got Patriot Polling, Trafalgar. So they are just demolishing the pollsters right now. So because of this, is there potential that we can see? And honestly, what you can see is hilarious too. If you go back to 2012, you can actually see that Rasmussen, even all the way back here, sucked massive ass. Until like they'll have like some really bad polls in here as well. So like I had seen like a Romney, you can see like a Romney plus is massive here that were way off. But basically what you could see here is if it's the case where because we're getting these numbers, there's this like over performance of Kamala Harris, it'd be pretty interesting if we could get like a 2012 Obama overperformance in the polls plus like a 2008 Obama energy. It would be really interesting. But they're probably, correlated with each other. So what's probably going to happen is obviously, the 2012 general election overperformance for Obama or for, Kamala Harris would be surged by this 2008 Obama energy for Kamala Harris. And so it's not unprecedented something like this happens. Obama in a lot of ways basically was Trump before Trump, because basically, Trump kind of broke the system and that he brought in a lot of people who weren't really paying attention to politics and only loved him. Obama did a similar thing where he brought in a lot of minority voters and people like that who weren't taking part in the system. So you can see a massive overperformance. If I multiply this by 4, I only get 2.8, so I'm still not there at 3.9. If I multiply it by 5, I'm still not there. So it's somewhere between pretty close to 6 times the national polling average. He ends up winning, and you can look at these numbers here. A lot of fluctuations. He didn't do well in the first debate as well, for example. But what we can see is here, Kamala Harris, I think she needs to do really well with black women. I think black males are probably going to be in 80s again. I think it was like 87% for black males. Overall, though, it was 92. I think probably what's happening is black women probably vote at higher rates than black men. But we do need really, really strong support from African-American voters. Women in general, I think, are going to turn out pretty hard. We'll see kind of how that continues to grow. But what's really interesting is, voter registration is surging pretty much everywhere in all the battleground states for young women, young black women, etc., young Latino women even. So can this kind of energy end up resulting in a victory? Only time will tell, and we'll have to figure out as things happen. But there is a chance that even if the polls are tight, Kamala ends up winning by quite a bit. And it'll be interesting to see if finally like the Trump overperformance goes away or if he ends up doing worse than before. Nikki Haley did overperform in Michigan by about 11 points, but that may just have been an outlier. That doesn't end up doing anything. So, we'll have to see how that goes.